Welcome to the My Friend the Friar podcast, and thanks for listening. If you like My Friend the Friar and want to support us, please consider subscribing or following us if you haven't already done so. And if you found us on YouTube, then don't forget to click the notification bell when you subscribe so you'll be notified of new episodes when they release. Thanks again, and God bless. And it just starts. It just starts right away. So welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me and my friend the Friar. My friend the Friar.
Father Stephen, not enough coffee yet.
Yeah, Father Stephen Sanchez, a Discalced Carmelite, coffee making priest. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Coffee. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. So not last night, the night before, I passed a kidney stone like 2-3 in the morning, and it was, oh my gosh, it was terrible. Because at first,
yeah, I've heard that they're.
Yeah, I woke up. And I was like, oh, my back hurts. Did I twisted wrong in my sleep or something? And then I was like, oh my gosh, it really hurts. So I got out of bed and I started trying to walk around and stretch, and I was like, I can't make the pain stop. Why can't I make the pain stop? And I was like, oh, let me go. There's a heating pad. Let me go get the heating pad and just like sit down with it for a minute. And then something about the angle that I sat down made it even worse. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to throw up. Like, this is terrible. And then I was like, oh, this is just like when I had a kidney stone like 5 years ago kind of thing. I was like, oh no, is that what's happening? Because I had to go to the ER for that. I was out of my mind in pain the last time. And so I was like stretching on the ground and doing everything I could, and I was like sweating and nauseous.
Praying.
Yeah.
Is there a patron saint of kidney stones?
Right. I mean, I was dying, and then finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and go to the bathroom and pass the stone, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was like all the pain it goes from like a 10 to like I felt like my insides were all. You know, like when you burn yourself and it doesn't hurt anymore, but you can tell that you burn yourself.
Yeah.
So like down the left side of my back, it was just like, I could feel it still that it had happened. And I went and just got back in bed, just passed out. And so I was so exhausted. And then.
So were the cats freaked out?
No, everybody slept.
Everybody slept in your
asleep.
emergency?
Yeah, I'm dying and everyone's like, yeah. So
it's only John.
Yeah. So I went back to sleep. And then, so I have an alarm set for like 6:30 every morning, even though I never sleep that late, so that when it's the school year and Betty's got to get up, like I don't accidentally forget to wake her up or something. So it's just on. Anyway, so I slept until that went off. And I was like, okay. So I got out of bed because at that point in time, I guess it startled me awake enough to where I was like, I'm not going to go back to sleep kind of thing. So then I was up. But then last night we went to see the Hamilton play, I guess it's a play. Yeah. Broadway.
A musical
thing, right?
Yeah.
And it was very hip hoppy, right? Well, that's all it is like hip hop, rap, history, drama, kind of whatever.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
It was fun. I mean, it was, if it gets some younger people nowadays to know a little bit of like American history. Like it's fair enough. But it was, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about this too. So it was out in Fort Worth. So we drive out to Fort Worth and
what was it? Bass Hall?
Yeah. Have you ever been there?
Yeah.
It's real pretty.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I went to go see the dialogue of the Carmelites there a couple of years ago.
That's the one where you said to the movie that they, because it's an opera? Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's like season 1 or something. When you told me about that, we went and watched it, or we rented it, or found some way to.
And today is the memorial of them.
Is it? Well,
Carmelites of Compiègne today.
And yesterday was the feast.
Our Lady of Mount Carmel.
Man, timing.
Providence.
Yeah. So anyway, so we went out there, and it was a beautiful place, and everyone's beautiful and fancy, and all the people. Watch the show. We leave. And we go to our parking garage, and there's a boot on our car because in the parking garage, the space immediately to the left of ours was like available, but the one that I just parked in randomly just because we're trying to get to the show was reserved. And so they put a boot on our car, and then charge like $60 to take it off. And we're like, come on. So anyway, by the time that's done and we get home, it's like almost midnight. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the girls were like, we should have Taco Bell for dinner or whatever. So we got Taco Bell on the way home, and I ate like 2 tacos, and I was like, I'm going to sleep. So went and passed out. And the last thing I wanted was the cats to bother me all night. And so
So you locked them up?
No, I went and put food bowls out throughout the house and like filled them up. Yeah, I was like, y'all go, just leave me alone. And I slept until it was sometimes after 6 o'clock when I woke up, and the cats left me alone all night long. Thank you, Jesus. Like it was, but I went to bed late too, so that was the other thing. So I still didn't get a lot of sleep, but at least they left me alone. So I was so tired. I need about 15 more cups of coffee. So what have you been up to? You led a retreat recently or a conference? And I say recently, this could have been last month for all I know. I can't keep track of anything right now.
Well, me either.
Have you traveled? You just did something. What did you do?
I had a retreat, a pro-life retreat.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Pro Vida, it was in Spanish. So I just had a retreat for that group. And then I had been to Little Rock. I was in Little Rock before that. And
how's the castle doing?
Fine, except just yesterday, day before yesterday, Bob called me and told me the big oak tree in the circle fell.
No.
It was hollow on the inside. Apparently they have so much rain right now that the ground is so sopping wet that the weight of the tree just toppled it over.
Oh my gosh.
So it did some damage to the monastery, one of the windows in the large chapel. And
because that tree's big.
Humongous.
Yeah.
So, and then Bob fell.
No.
I said, Bob, you're not 19 anymore. Because I know, Father. So, anyway, so just trying to keep track of things. Parish, house, monastery in Little Rock. So it's been busy trying to get stuff together.
How long have Bob, and he's married, right?
Bob and Mary Lou.
Yeah. How long have they lived in that little house out there? Like 100 years, right? I mean,
I met them, and they were living on the property back when I made my novitiate, which was in 83.
Yeah.
So it was before then that they were still living there. And in fact, his mother and father used to go out, take them out to the monastery there. And after Bob's mom died, and there's like 8 or 9 kids. After Bob's mom died, he couldn't keep all of them. So I think the youngest 3 or 4, he took to the orphanage, and the sisters took care of them. But of course, he would go out there every weekend and stuff. But yeah, so Bob has a lot of memories of Mary Lake. So basically, he was raised there on the property. So he's really attached to us and to that place. So yeah.
Were his parents? Did they live in the house before him? Like, so it did.
I'm not sure how that was. I don't know when Bob and Mary moved onto the property. I wasn't around then, so
we should go out and visit and do an episode with him. That'd be fun.
That'd be fun to listen to.
Yeah, just tell stories.
Stories of the friars and everything. Yeah, that would
be fun. We should totally do that. Okay, we'll write that down and forget. But
yes, of course.
Maybe we'll remember. Okay,
in fact, I'm going to write it down right now.
Oh yeah, because we actually have
pins here.
Yeah, because I'm out. I'm visiting, so I'm at Mount Carmel in our library recording studio room. Father, I thought you were going through these books. I thought you were trying to clean this place up, but it looks like there's more books than the last time.
There's more books because I've been pulling them out and stacking them up, which are the things that I need to review. And I got some duplicates I'm going to get rid of. I've got some other stuff. So actually, I have been pulling stuff out and looking at and stacking, trying to rearrange them. So, yeah.
I think I'll bring Betty out here one day and just you can just type up an assignment list for her.
She would never do anything. She'd sit down and read. And she'd just read.
Maybe if we did it like once a month, she would, after 2 or 3 years, she would finally
Start filing
stuff. Yeah.
after she read everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can try. Oh, that's a study of the liturgy. That would be a cool book. Sorry. I love being in here too. Okay. So
Squirrel.
yeah, squirrel. I've got this thought. I think in just, in your spare time, you can just run this up to the Pope, and just get him to sign off on it. But it's this, I've been thinking about, okay, so all of my siblings, there's a bunch of us, right? And only one of them still, besides me, still goes to church. And she's actually a convert. So I have 2 half sisters, but they're sisters, right? So anyway, so they weren't raised Catholic, but she converted when prior to getting married, and so she goes to mass every Sunday. Her girls went to like Catholic school and stuff, so she really practices her faith, right? Which is great. It's beautiful. And then there's me, and then everyone else just kind of doesn't. And so I've been thinking about this, and I'm just fascinated about why people stop going to church and all that kind of thing. And I kind of think, I think there's a catechesis problem. I think is definitely part of it.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a relationship problem. So we're going to have to talk about relationship here,
Again.
of course, again.
Okay.
But the catechesis thing. So this is why I think you should just run it by a Holy Father and just, we'll be done with it. Save the church, everything, right? Is we need to stop, and please correct me, push back. I think that's fine. We can, what do they call it at work? We can brainstorm this or whatever. But I think we should stop doing catechesis classes for children. And I think we should instead, prior to receiving a sacrament,
First communion.
for the first one, first communion, reconciliation, confirmation, whatever. There should just be like an interview process with the child and the priest or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it is straight pass fail. It is, you're ready, you understand, or you don't.
Right.
And I'm not saying the person has to have perfect understanding, because relationships grow.
Right.
But I think there should just be a cutoff.
They should show some sign of understanding.
Yeah. And so if the requirement for catechesis formation, all of that, was put back into the domestic church, so to speak, right? Mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, aunts and uncles. And this is, the child learned their faith at home because they have a role model who's living the faith. And so then the kid goes, I want to live this, because they have this beautiful home life spiritually. Then I think as they grow up, they're less likely to leave. Mm-hmm. So then I guess the catechesis classes would have to be for the
family.
The family. Mom and dad have to go.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a very good. I'm glad you brought that up, because, unfortunately, a lot of people, either cradle Catholics or whatever, right? So I come from a cradle Catholic family. So a lot of times what can happen is enough time to actually spend catechizing, teaching, or whatever, right? I think that would be a wonderful resolution to the problem. But I think another problem too is the faith life of the child important enough or prioritized enough so that they focus on that. And so like, okay, but if you've got them going to soccer practice, baseball practice, volleyball practice, swimming, dodgeball practice, whatever.
Dodgeball practice.
So what happens is there is such a misplaced focus on that, and children should be socialized, and children should have some sort of physical activity, some sort of life understanding on that aspect as well. That is very important. But I think what can happen is the parents become so, and thereby messing them up. Anyway, it's a whole other 12 episodes. So I think it's true. But it's a matter of how do you prioritize, or how do you make it something that is important for the domestic church, for the family member, whether it's a married couple or a single mom or single dad or whatever, right? There's different circumstances and situations that would have to be taken into account. But I believe that it should be more important to the family, that the domestic church really needs to embrace its important and its spiritual life as a building block for the child, right? A lot of people recently, in the past couple of decades, they've been talking about the nuclear family, right? The importance of the nuclear family and family values. Great, wonderful. But what does that mean? Are you going to catechize them, or are you talking about a faith? Are you talking about a faith in the family that is whole, healthy, integrated, and taking into account the child's ability to understand what it is that you're trying to teach them, right? So again, there's this whole other thing. Do the parents have, and I think you mentioned this, do the parents have the understanding of how the child's brain is developing, and how they can teach the child so that the child understands what they're trying to teach, right? Mm-hmm. Because then you can have your tiger mom, your tiger dad, who's trying to teach the 8-year-old all the conciliar documents and the Latin names. It's like no. Again, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to anyway.
Do it.
I know. Filter. There are a lot of people who have children, but do not have the skills to be able to raise the children. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So one thing is to be able to have a child, another thing is to be able to actually form the child. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where a lot of the problem can be as well. That has to be taken into account again. So now getting back to what you're saying earlier, it would be a matter of having classes for the parents, to teach them how to teach their children. Mm-hmm. So already I can say well, I've got a job. Right? Okay, so fine. Weekends. I got 2 jobs. Okay. And then to educate the parents as to the importance, right, of living a spiritual life, and not necessarily giving them the lessons to teach their children, but at least an understanding of the faith, so that they can communicate that. So if you can prepare them for First Holy Communion, we're going to be talking about the Eucharist. We're going to be talking about the history of the Eucharist, the development of the Eucharist. What does the Eucharist signify? What is the importance of the Eucharist, right? And so then you can even get into signs and symbols and rituals and stuff, right?
Maybe I'll even stop you here, because I wonder if when I was saying, and we're going to have to talk about relationship and stuff, I think part of the problem in the church today, and I can say this for sure in the United States, but maybe this is a global issue, is I think our faith, I believe in God, but not relational. And so if I'm teaching the concepts of the sacraments instead of the relationship of the sacrament,
correct.
And I think of J.R.R. Tolkien,
right?
So he was I don't remember what happened to his parents, but he was raised by a priest in Africa or South Africa or wherever, somewhere in Africa. And so, yes, there was probably some kind of conceptual training, like, what is that? Why is it purple, right? Oh, let me hit the button. I wonder if it works.
But why is it purple?
So why is it purple, right? Why is the thing the way it is? That's fine. People are curious. They want to understand. But if you see your parents going to confession once a month for as long as you can remember.
It becomes habitualized, not just in the parents' lives, but it becomes something that is just part of the culture.
Yeah, and then the kids, at some point in time, the kids like, why do we do this?
Right.
Well, let me tell you why we do this, right? Because it's not like a concept. It's I want this relationship to work, right, with God. So I wonder if you're going to end up with parents who can't teach and don't have the relationship.
Correct.
Okay, so then what happens to their kids? Is it really any worse than what it is now? Where it's like, hey, it's your first communion. Let's go pick a pretty dress and let's go have a party and let's get gifts and stuff. Is it really any worse? Or is it maybe, when the church population dips another 90%, God, and their kids are the ones who are actually going to understand the relationship?
Yeah, and again, it goes back to formation. It goes back to the example that the parents are supposed to live, and again, give a witness to this life for their children, which encourages their children to also. At first, it would be like to belong. I mean, there's levels. There's faith. There's levels of faith development as well. So one is to do it because they tell me to do it because I want to belong and everybody else is doing it, and then actually start actualizing it and integrating it until you come to full maturity of faith, and you do it, or you're engaged in your faith because it is a choice that you make and you understand what it signifies. But there's a lot of there's so many variations in families and family systems and stuff. I think that it's something for us to take into consideration. But I think this is something that the church has tried to teach. Says even from the Second Vatican Council, they once again were trying to reestablish or make important again this whole idea of the domestic church, right? This whole idea of the family being the domestic church. But then again, it has to be important enough to the family to actually want to live it and teach it and be the instructors of the children, right? There's a lot of talk about that right now. It's like, I want to teach my children, or I want to make the decisions as to what my children learn. Like, okay, I understand the general concept, but that also is kind of scary because if you're again, and no offense to the flat earthers, but if you're a flat earther and you're going to teach your children, they're like, no. So there's a lot of things that has to be addressed, but you're right. It should come from that. I think part of the reason that the CCD and those catechetical classes developed was because there is a lessening in that. And we can go into a whole other episode on post-industrial culture. So that has a great effect as well. The Catechism tells us that it is the Holy Spirit that makes disciples, and only disciples make other disciples. So then the question would be, are the parents disciples, or are they Easter, Christmas Catholics, right? You come to the Easter liturgy, the Christmas liturgy, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, that's minimal. That is a minimal, even nominal Catholics, right? They're Catholics in name only. Their children are going to be nominally Catholic. They're going to be minimally catechized. And so the CCD stuff, I think, was meant to be a supplement to the faith-based or to the domestic church. But unfortunately, what's happened is most families have abdicated their responsibility to be a spiritual household, to be formators of their children, and have basically abandoned or abdicated that and left it all on the shoulders of the CCD system or the instruction system. And they can't do it because your teacher only has you for 1 hour or 2 hours a week.
Yeah.
And what can you do?
And I don't know you, right? And
right.
Your sister, whoever,
Right.
from when I grew up, The only sister I can remember was Sister Soledad. And the only reason I remember her name is because my mom was like, that's the name of a prison out in California. And I'm like, okay. And so it stuck in my head. But anyway, we had a little Dominican convent, and they're all from the Philippines. And so they all had really thick accents. And I don't know you, sister, right? You're very nice, but I don't understand what you're saying very well. And I don't have a relationship with you. So why do I care what you're telling me when I'd rather be home playing Nintendo or something like that? Right. So yeah, when you outsource the responsibility of the parent.
Correct.
And look what else has happened to our society. Right now, we're just going to put on our grumpy old man hats. Look at everything else that's happened in society. Because parents don't raise their kids, the schools raise our kids, or the teachers, or the internet raises our kids, right? And that's kind of what you were talking about post-industrial. Like once upon a time, I had to go build fences with Dad all day because we had to, and I'm going to learn from Dad shoulder to shoulder working all day long,
right? And
so.
There's a real interpersonal relationship.
Yeah, or with mom or whatever's going on. And so that the handing on of things is just natural. That doesn't take place anymore.
No. And I think part of that too is like there's a work ethic that is passed on. There's the ethic of integrity that is passed on. The growth in authenticity and stuff. All those are part of that whole cultural life. And it goes back to the whole term, it takes a village, and that's what it means. It takes a village to raise a child. It means like it is a communal effort. And we, speaking as Catholics, and that there is a Catholic understanding of life, a life stance that is Catholic, a Catholic understanding of creation, stewardship, and all those things. And that is passed on through the way the family lives its life. So again, going back to this whole idea of catechesis, I think it'd be wonderful. But even then, it's unfortunate. There's some families or some parents that try to find a way around, or they can't see, or they don't value what the church is trying to teach, and they try to find a way around it because they want the product, but they don't want the process. I want my child to make his first communion or her confirmation, but I don't want to go through the process. I just want the thing done. Yeah. And then that is unfortunate. For example, I'm gonna give you an example that really just absolutely ticked me off last year.
On March 17th.
I remember
25.
So it's at the parish. So the kids have to go to CCD classes. Yep. And part of the process of the CCD class is when they go to church on Sunday, they're expected to go to church on Sunday. Mm-hmm. They have to take the bulletin, and the priest has to stamp or sign the bulletin to
prove that you're there.
That they were there.
Yep.
Right. You're like, okay, whatever. So then I find out that there's some parents that were coming at the very end of Mass. The child would get out of the car, go into the church, get the bulletin, go into the sacristy, have the priest sign.
Drive-by bulletin stamping.
Right. And then leave again, right? And so then I was absolutely infuriated, but okay, whatever. So we're going to have to set up cameras, right? Find out who these parents are. So for a couple of weeks, I preached during the announcements. I okay, this is what's happening and stuff like that. So I told them, I was very blunt. I go you're teaching your child to be deceptive. You're teaching your child to lie. You're teaching to your child that rules are for other people, and if you're smart enough, you can get around the rules. I said, that's fine if you want to teach your children that. But once your children do that to you, do not bring them here to this church and ask us to fix your child because you broke your child. Not my job.
Yeah.
So, God, but see, that's kind of like, okay, you have families that are doing that, right? And you're like, what is it that you're teaching your child?
Yeah.
So yeah, and it goes back to this whole idea of discipleship and what is the importance of the faith. So if my faith is not important to me, but the only thing that is important to me is that I get my ticket punched, so that I get my communion, I get my baptism, I get my confirmation. To what end?
Yeah.
If you're not going to live that life, then to what end?
Yeah. And so like what would happen? Let's follow this all the way through. Right. So this pass fail interview process,
Right.
Creates basically a culling of the flock.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not ready. It is not important to you. So don't.
Drops by like
don't bother.
90%, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Everybody goes, well, I'm going to go to the whatever corner church down the street. So then they go. And then I was joking with somebody about this the other day.
Right.
And then the church will have to rebuild from there.
Yeah.
And speaking of relationship, here's another thing and I'm going to raise my hand here because I know I do this terribly. And this has been weighing on my heart so much lately. And I don't know what my problem is. But parish life, like the church, the parishes should not be run by like 2% of the parish population, and the tithing comes.
All right, 3%. Correct. That's been part of that's part of the Catholic problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm part of the problem. Like I know that, like I have no problem tithing, but do I, outside of like my church brothers and maybe their families and stuff like that, do I know anyone at the parish? You know what I mean? Like how many people, and I get it's not the location.
Correct.
So that's the problem. Like,
right.
We should be in relationship with everyone in the parish.
Yes. And I think this goes back to what you opened this with, this idea. You opened up this section with this idea, the conceptual part. And I think part of civilization is the capacity to manipulate abstract concepts. And that's fine. That's great. That's wonderful. We reward people that are able to do that, to manipulate or give voice to abstract concepts. And that's wonderful. That's great. But what can happen is that when you bring that into relationship, when you bring that into, again, for us as Catholics, which is relational, what happens is you do damage to that relationship because you're not really thinking about the interaction and the whole dialogue and the dance of relationship and the whole idea of communicating, dialoguing, working through problems, misunderstandings, misconceptions, and all that, which takes work. But if you're only thinking of it conceptually, you're missing out on the most vital part of that, and that is that it is a personal encounter. So our life is about a personal encounter with Christ. And obviously, the personal encounter with Christ is just not me and Jesus. That's Protestantism. It is me within the community that I belong to. It is our encounter with Christ in each other, with each other, and through each other and with each other. Our understanding of Christ's presence in my life begins to expand and to deepen. But It's about learning that abstract concepts are great and wonderful, except that there has to be another component to that, and that is the ability to be able to express that in an interpersonal way. Yeah. And that's what makes it sacramental, and that's what makes it real. Yeah. So, I agree that there are problems. As long as there are human beings, there will be problems. So we can
people.
God's people. We have to still work at it, and that is each era or epoch has its own problems. So we have to figure out what are the problems we are facing now. But the problem is, of course, as we as a church begin to address and try to find a way to solve the problems that we find ourselves in at the moment, being the organic thing that we are as the church, community, society continues to develop and grow, there's going to be other things that we're going to have to continuously renew. And that's what this whole thing is about, the renewal. It is a renewed way of addressing the historical space and time that we find ourselves in as a church, situations, issues, problems, opportunities that we find ourselves in to continue to grow in our relationship with the Lord.
Yeah. I think I think that it would probably benefit the church to, I'm going to say it. Someone's going to get grumpy about it. But the Pope should call a synod. That alone probably triggered 90%.
But that's normal. The synods are called all the time.
Yeah. But he needs to call a synod with the purpose of everyone sitting, all the bishops sitting down and going, what are we doing, guys? Yeah. And with, speaking of relationship, let's get the bishops from the Orthodox churches to come too and sit down and look at each other and say, what are we doing? Right? Like 500 plus years later, like, what are we doing? 1,000 is division in the church.
Yeah.
And if the church can't even fix that with itself, then of course, when it trickles all the way down, the bishops don't have relationship with each other. The parish priests don't have relationship with each other. The parishioners don't have relationship with each other. The families don't have relationship with each other. Right. And so it's, and even within the family, parents and children don't have relationship. And now it shouldn't, I'm a big both and. It doesn't need to be just top down. It needs to be top down and bottom up, and then we'll be in the middle. Because where do our priests and bishops come from? They come from the domestic church. Right. But the same way the domestic church can't abdicate its responsibility, neither can the people
I agree.
At the top.
I agree. I'm glad you brought that up because it reminds me of, here we go, nerd. We're going to nerd out for just I don't want to say a second. It's going to be longer than a second. Coming out of the dark ages and trying to, well, I shouldn't say dark ages. I don't think that term is used anymore. Coming out of the early Middle Ages, getting past the famines, the wars, the pestilence, plagues, all that stuff, right? As the church was trying to regather itself, the church was trying to reform itself because there was need for reform. Again, because every age has its problem, and humans continue to be humans. And so the problem of the age was whatever they thought needed to be reformed. So there were several attempts throughout different parts of the church, because that was before the church was unified under Peter or had a greater system of communication which strengthened the unity of the church. Going back to what I know, right, what I'm familiar with and what I've studied, in Spain, it was Ferdinand and Isabel that began the Reformation of the church in Spain with the permission of the Holy See. And the way they began the Reformation of the church in Spain, or the Spains, because there were several kingdoms, was it began with the Reformation of the clergy.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't they took a good hard look at who the bishops were and stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah. And they demanded that the bishops had to live in the diocese that they were bishops of. What? To receive benefices and stuff. They went through this whole thing, and they also had a brilliant man, Cardinal Cisneros, who was a Franciscan. He helped them also in this whole Reformation, and it made a huge difference in the Reformation and the education of the clergy, and thereby their idea was by educating the clergy can educate the lay people, and thereby the renewal then of understanding of the faith. And so I agree. I think it has to be both from the top down and from the bottom up, that there is this understanding. Because I think now we live, for us, in the United States and most of the world, very literate. We have access to the internet, which is a curse and a blessing. You have, through the internet, you can access libraries and library stacks and different things and archives and stuff. There's a lot of potential, right? Instead of watching cat videos, Betty,
that's funny. I was thinking about cat. They are pretty fun to watch.
They are fun. There are things that we can do with our time that are challenging and educating. So, yeah. So she's going to hit me. So anyway, I know. I'm again, there's opportunities, but again, a part of it too is most people aren't adult enough to figure this out.
Yeah. And you know what's funny, when she comes back to hit you too, she's going to say, "And where's my nun?" Yeah. Which is the other side of it, is there's kind of a shortage of y'all knowledgeable people who are outside the family. So if somebody has an authentic desire to grow spiritually, they're like, okay, well, do I go to the internet for that?
How do I do this? Or how do I do this?
Yeah, and of course there's great, there's great educational content out there. My friend the Friar,
is. There's resources.
Yeah, my friend the Friar, and other podcasts and stuff like that. Yeah. But anyway, no, there's great things out there. But
again, too, I mean, I think again, getting back to this whole idea too, is before there was instantaneous communication, where did you go, or how was it possible? Right, there are some classic writings and stuff that can help people, right? But it's a matter of helping people find those resources so that they can learn and grow themselves, right, and educate themselves.
Well, and speaking of nuns, think of people like Saint Therese or Saint Rita. Like, why did they end up? Why did their lives ultimately end up in sainthood? Is in no small part to the relationships they had with the sisters growing up.
Yes.
Right, there was a convent in the area. There was a monastery in the area.
It was a Catholic family. It was a Catholic culture.
And so, so all these relationships rubbed off on them and formed them throughout their life. And that's the thing that's missing, right? And to not make fun of my wife, that's the thing she's looking for, right? And it's hard to find that,
right? I think part two, within the world of the church today, right? There is a decrease in religious life. There's an increase a lot in a lot of the active congregations, because that's what people are about. People want product, right? I want to go and I want to dig a well for this poor family in the outer limits of some Peruvian jungle, right?
Yeah.
And so I do the well, and I dig the well, and I leave, and I feel satisfied.
Feel like I did something.
Right? So when it comes to religious orders, especially for us that are the contemplative orders, there is no X product.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait, what do you mean? I'm just supposed to
just pray?
Pray?
You're supposed to be holy.
That's not productive.
There you go.
Right?
Exactly. See, and that's where the problem is there too, is that the inability or the lack of formation and understanding that the personal sanctity of a person increases the sanctity of the church. And so again, if you're stuck in the doing part instead of the being part, then we are where we are. And it's all in God's hands. Whatever God desires to do with this will happen the way it happens. So I'm not worried about that. It's God's church. But I think part of it too then is that there is this understanding of the faithful remnant. This is something that has been consistent in salvation history from the beginning of Israel, right? There is a faithful remnant. So who is this faithful remnant, right? So now you have people that are arguing and fighting with each other who the faithful remnant is. And so okay, the faithful remnant, it'd be like in the 25th chapter of Matthew when Jesus says, come inherit the kingdom because you fed me, you clothed me, you visited me, right? And the faithful remnant don't know that they're the faithful remnant because they're being faithful. Yeah. It's the other people that we have problems with.
When did we see you?
Right, exactly.
How did you have a chance?
Right.
Yeah, give me something to do.
Right. It's the other people that think that they're faithful remnant. They're like, nah, you're the problem.
Yeah. That makes me think, here recently I've been thinking about apologetics and pride. And I think... So Satan has this he is very skilled at taking the thing which is holy and making it unholy, turning it to sin, right? So the person who grows up that just wants to love or just wants to be a dad or just wants to be a mom or just wants to get married, whatever, there's nothing wrong with the teaching of the things.
Correct.
But
the truth is,
when we're arguing, it just sounds like pride.
Yeah, it is.
And
it is, because it's like I'm trying to prove my point. Like it's not for you to prove the point. It's for you to present the truth. Whatever the other person wants to do with the truth, they have a God-given right to accept it or reject it. It's on them, man.
Yeah. So and that's not to say that people who are engaged in apologetics are being sinful.
No,
I'm just saying there's something there that I think
it can be vainglorious though, because that's where some people get caught up.
Yeah.
They get caught up and they get lost in their vainglory, right? And they get lost in their pride. And it's all about, again, how many likes do I have? How many subscriptions do I have? How many downloads do I have? And it becomes this whole thing that it's not meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Father, we've been talking for a minute, so I think we probably, we should probably wrap this one up. But, and this has been great, because I was saying about this when I was driving out here. I think this is literally only the second time I've seen you in person all year.
Probably.
I think I saw you once before, because I remember giving you, in person. I think because that's when I give you a book that I got you for your birthday, and it was way after your birthday.
Right.
I was coming out here. I was like, I think, is this only the second time I've seen this guy in person? Holy cow! And I think it is. So I've appreciated just getting to come and hang out with you. But
be in the library and
taking
all the book smell.
Yeah. It smells good. It smells good. But anyway, we got more things to talk about, but not today. So I love you. Thanks for having me.
Love you.
And everyone, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.
God bless. Share the podcast.
Bye for now.
Bye.